Tenfold.
And we are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live. I'm your host, yakinwithsarah, and I'm going to let this guy right here introduce himself. Go ahead, Dieter.
Hey, folks, I'm Dieter Melhorn, coming to you live from the Melhorn Fishing Command Center right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Good evening, everybody.
All right. I'm going to pull up chat. We've got Anthony Horton here, Outdoors Weekly Kentucky Catman, already in the chat. Let me attempt to share this on Facebook while we're going. Easton Music Ministries, what's going on? Life as number 8. How are you doing? Pill and drag catfishing's in the house. How's everybody doing tonight? Get your catfishing questions ready, or any questions, I guess, that you want to ask Dieter.
Hey, everybody. I'm actually able to look at the chat, so this should actually work out pretty good. I've got it up on another computer here trying to do this big time, and I'm going to try to give you more of my head. I can actually see the feed on the other computer, so this is like real TV or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Hang on, I'm going to adjust something.
Okay. What's going on, Johnny?
I'm back.
Yes, he does, but I'll let him answer that for himself. Do you ever fish Lake Wiley?
Lake Wiley, where's that located at? Is that in Georgia? I see that new school. What's up, pal? How you doing, man? I hope you're doing well. Yeah, that's actually, for you guys that don't know, that's my home lake. It's right outside of Charlotte on the top of River Chain, and that's the one I probably fish more than any other place. I love it. It's in my backyard. It's only 12 minutes to the boat ramp from the house, so I'm a little bit spoiled. Spoiled, blessed, whatever you want to call it, that it's that close and that convenient to get to.
I watched your live stream with Grayson the other day. How many fish did y'all end up catching yesterday?
We ended up with 24 fish yesterday, and I think none of them over 12 pounds. So they were all pretty small fish. Monticello is a place that can produce some monsters. My personal best came from there. But, yeah, it wasn't for us. So, but we caught a lot of fish. And we actually did pretty good today. We almost went live today, but we decided not to. And we did okay. We were out there 4 hours, and I think we caught 12. So it was a decent bite, but again, a bunch of small fish. And that was on watery today. So they're elusive for some reason, and I can't figure out why. It's beautiful weather, fairly stable. Water temperatures are nice. They're in the mid-60s. No big, crazy, muddy inflow of water. No reason we shouldn't be catching bigger fish right now. So, add it.
Uh-oh. That's not good. Hang on, guys. Let me mute this. Let me get them back in here. Hang on one second, guys. We're going to answer all y'all's questions. Might have slight technical difficulties going on right here. Alright, he is back.
Got me back?
Yeah, I got you back. Let me get you in here.
Not sure what happened.
I don't know. Uh-oh, wrong thing.
Bring me pizza.
No, that's for me.
Oh.
Oh, I get a yakin. There's a yak, cayenne,
No.
and
Hey, Grayson. Alright, I don't see you, but I have your audio.
I hear you talking on the feed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Your video feed isn't coming through.
Let me do this. I'm going to end it.
Okay.
And redo it because I think it may have linked. Let me end it here.
Okay. That works. Let me mute this. It's good because we're early. So bear with us, guys, for just a second. Let me get that off there. Let me end this. And let me get them back in. Oops. I think I was supposed to wait on him. That's okay.
Bam, we're back.
Okay, yep, there we go.
I don't know what happened with that.
Oh, well, I can hear.
There we go, there he is. Alright, let me get the chat back up. And let me go back up on the chat.
The video is pretty far behind.
Where did I stop at? Hello from Missouri. What's going on, Richard Ward?
They're looking at right. Can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you fine.
You see me? Do you hear me?
You ever catch yellow bellies? And what's your favorite bait?
Yellow bellies. What are they calling yellow bellies? Is that a type of catfish? And are they calling a flathead a yellow belly? Because I know there's a lot of cat. Yeah, flathead gets 50 million different names assigned to it. So,
Well, what about?
Let's see if there's a
What about
yellow
bullhead?
belly.
Let's see. Colleen, Sarah, are you a firefighter? I volunteer. We go through firefighting training through work, so that's where that video came from. They allowed me to take all that footage, and I think it turned out pretty good. Let everybody see a little bit of what goes on.
I see Lena Hardwick said they have family down at Monticello. Do they actually live on the lake, or are they adjacent to the lake? I'd be curious because not a lot of people actually live on the lake down there. Oh, Muddy River's in the chat too. Wow, we got a whole little crowd of people coming in. Hey, everybody.
He said my name's perfect for having you on here. She sure do love to yak.
Somebody was saying that you were asking about yellow bellies, and I didn't know if I'm not familiar with that. It sounds like a slang name for something. I don't know if that's a name for a flathead.
Bullhead.
It is bullhead. No, the only bullheads we really catch are white catfish, which are in the bullhead family. We catch a few brown bullheads, but to be perfectly honest with you, I think the old flathead catfish has eradicated most of those. We still have, and as a matter of fact, we've seen our white cat population go down tremendously in Lake Wiley over the past 10 years. It used to be when I would fish tournaments years ago, you would get into those because back in the day, it was almost exclusively catching channel cats in the tournaments. And that's changed as blues started to take over, and especially the flatheads. We've seen those white cats disappear virtually. I mean, you still catch a few, but you used to get into them and catch, 10, 15, 20 of them when you're anchored up somewhere, and it just became annoying. So I think, as much as I don't want to say that, the flatheads have had an impact on those fish, especially the bullhead populations, because anybody that fishes for flatheads knows bullheads make really good flathead bait. So
that's what I heard.
They're kind of disappeared from where we're at. We're fishing for blue cats. That's the most widespread, and they're non-native. And then, we got channel cats, which are native, and then we got the flatheads, which are also non-native. They were actually introduced by the state way back when. They thought they were doing something good, and they quickly found out that the flathead catfish is the apex predator, and pretty much everything smaller than its mouth is a potential meal. So it's biologists. We just pretend they're not here. That's our unspoken rule, is we just pretend they're not here and hope the biologists don't try to eradicate them. So kind of where we're at.
How do you find catfish on the fish finder, sonar, down scan, or side scan?
Good question. I always say that when you're looking at your sonar screen, whatever you're fishing for are the arches that you see. That's kind of the running joke. You see bass fishermen. I always watch these bass fishing shows, and they're pointing at stuff, and they're going, oh, there's some, and I'm going, I don't think that's bass. It looks like shad or something stacked up. In all seriousness, I'm going to try to put together a show on that now that we're getting some fish up out of the mud and suspended a little bit where you can see them. We've got some good video of them yesterday. The signature on the arch is a lot, especially on the more decent sized fish, is a lot thicker arch. And I'm going to try to compare. A lot of this stuff is kind of, you just learn it. It's hard to describe. I really have to show you. But usually you start getting a lot of yellow, at least the way my sonar is set up on the Lowrance. So you get a lot of yellow and yellow in the arch. and they have kind of a little shrimpy kind of look to them. Usually one end is bigger than the other. And
no. All right. Let me go through chat real quick while I get him back in here. Basser, that is crazy. The old Basser said he's been catching catfish regularly on a spinnerbait. That is insane. I have definitely... I mean, I know that Country Girl Catfishing caught them on a lizard the other day. Not a live lizard, but a Rage Chill KVD lizard. I thought that was insane. So let me get him back in here. There he is.
Did we drop again?
We dropped again, man.
Dang.
I don't have your video isn't showing again. Let's see. You want to end the call and then me call you back?
Yep, let's try that again.
Alright. Bear with us, guys. This whole thing is still very much a work in progress. Make sure.
Bam, now I see my beautiful self.
Okay. There we go. Let's see. Let me get you back in the chat. Oops. Oops. Oh, where are you? No. No. Nope. Oh, there you are. Okay. Gotcha. Alright. Alright. Let's see.
Where did you lose me at? That was a good 20-minute rant.
You had just finished talking about the watching bass fishermen, thinking that was shad.
Gave up the secret, right?
Yeah.
That's too bad. Yeah. Oh well. No, it's they have a different signature than the other fish. Usually, it's a in addition to being usually a good arch, there's usually a lot of yellow in them the way they're set up on my Lowrance, and they, unlike a striper that's moving around and you start to get that spaghetti kind of look to it. A lot of that's the water stream signature and everything coming off of them. Same thing with perch that are constantly moving. They're a little more of a less moving fish, I guess is the best way to describe them.
Okay.
A little bit thicker, usually bigger on one end than the other. They'll have almost like a shrimp kind of look to them. And generally speaking, oriented close to the bottom and probably the bottom third of the water column. Though right now it can be kind of tough. A lot of the fish we're catching got mud on them, and you hear me say that in my videos. And when they've got mud on them, they seem to be laid up in the mud and silt on the bottom. And it's very hard to pick them out off the bottom. You may run along and you go, man, there ain't no fish in here. And if you're drifting or dragging, you're catching fish. And it's like, I'd love to see video. If anybody knows where there's any video of this at, please send it to me, of what those fish are doing. You can see the mud on their bodies. It's almost like they're laid up with just their gills sticking out of the mud and the silt on the bottom. But yeah, that's kind of the running joke is whatever you're fishing for, that's what you're seeing on the sonar. Because I've seen bass fishermen before point at stuff and I go, man, that's a catfish or that's gizzard shad. That's not bass. But if you the technology is getting to the point that I think within 10 years we're going to be able to positively identify fish and remove the gas.
I agree with you 100% on that.
And that's something that I said the other day in a chat somewhere. Everybody talks about game changer. Is it a lure? Is it a hook? Is it a line? It's electronics. Electronics is the single biggest game changer in fishing, and that's across the board everywhere. Mapping software and the mapping technology for mapping these lakes, complete game changer. It changes the way it helped me learn a lot quicker. And I tell anybody that's looking to buy a sonar unit, what's the best one? I said, it don't matter what you buy as long as it's got mapping software and GPS on it, because that is the single biggest thing. A matter of fact, there are times I could turn the sonar off and just go with the mapping and be able to figure out what is going on with fish. Because if you're drifting or dragging like we did for catfish, if you start to catch fish, you can actually look at the map and go, well, I'm catching them on the flat, I'm catching them on the ledge. Those are better places to fish. I mean, still need sonar, it helps, but circle back to that is the electronics that's the biggest game changer in fishing right now, and that's the thing that's going to continue to grow. The more they get this multi-angle stuff going on, and the quicker they can process it, we'll get to the point where we'll be able to positively identify stuff a lot better. So it's not going to be cheap. It's all, I mean, you can tell by the cost of stuff now, it's expensive, and but it's that's the big game changer right now.
Speaking of electronics, what devices do you use? As far as
I use a Lowrance HDS10. It's older stuff, some Gen 2. It's a matter of fact, I think it's old enough now that if it breaks, you basically send them $1,000 and you get a new or something. It's older technology. It has mapping. It has side scan, down scan, structure scan, all that kind of stuff. And it's I see no reason to change or get anything better until it breaks. It's a good unit. The structure scan, side scan's nice if you can afford it and get it. Mine's so old that it's a separate box. Now they're all self-contained in one unit. When I got mine, it was the separate box. You actually got a separate module for the structure scan. Structure scan comes in handy. One, you can tell what you think is a bait school from a pile of brush or a tree. There's sometimes you get fooled on traditional sonar, even though brush usually sticks out with a lot of black in it. Sometimes you get fooled. There's some places I learned with structure scan that we thought were brush piles are actually old bridges and silos and stuff like that. The biggest thing was structure scan, side scan is when you get in shallow water, because with traditional sonar, you're looking at about a fourth to a third of what the depth of the water is. So, you know, if you're in 12 feet of water, you're looking at about 3 to 4 feet a section you're looking at there. So when you get into super shallow water, 8 feet, you're just looking at something that's that big. So side scan gives you the ability to look out through the water column. Biggest thing I look for is just bait fish. And I've said that in some of my videos. Is, you know, being able to see bait fish, schools of bait, the little hard signatures of fish on there. So that's where it comes in handy. You can survive without it. If you can't afford it, it's not the end of the world. You can still catch fish. The mapping is more important than structure scan. And that's, I think for catfishing, it will be that way for a while.
Okay. Johnny wants to know how often you go to Lake Monticello and who's the better fisherman, you or Grayson?
By the way, Matty River, I'll answer that question in a bit. Oh, no, I like your comment about making audio books. That's a cute one. I love it. Love you, buddy. How's that mustache going? I don't get them off. It's about a 3 or 4 time a year trip. Generally go there when it's the heat of the summer. It's a great place to go on July 4th, Memorial Day, Labor Day, the most crowded boat day of the year. Go to Lake Monticello because it's not, as I said, it's a private lake that's open to the public. And what I mean by that is they've got some rules in place to where you can't water ski, you can't run jet skis, and that eliminates probably 70% of the recreational boat traffic out there. It's usually just fishermen out there. So they don't get out there often. It's, as I was telling Grayson, it's a love-hate relationship with that place, and anybody who has fished it will tell you that. My personal best catfish came out of there. Personal best blue. It's got some great fish in it. You can catch a ton of fish like we did yesterday. The bad part is when you think you got it figured out and dialed in, it comes back and kicks you in the teeth. So it's a tough lake to fish. Like I was saying in the live video, it's got standing timber in it. Anything 70 feet or deeper, it's got trees, full-size big trees in it, and it's just a tough lake to fish.
K-Bug Clark, welcome to the chat. Someone asked earlier how many. Did we lose you?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Still got me?
Yeah.
Still see you.
Okay. Someone asked earlier how many species of catfish have you caught?
How many what?
Species of catfish have you caught?
It's a good question. Blue, channel, flathead, white, brown, bullhead, yellow bullhead. The whatever that saltwater catfish is with the big high dorsal fin.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other I've overlooked. I think that's it.
You ever caught a red tail?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, there's so many, you look at, Grayson was talking about that. He was watching one of the YouTubers, John B, in his show. And, he travels around the world fishing different places. I think we were watching something of him fishing down in the Amazon, and it was real cool. And, it would be cool to do something like that, to go some of the different places, because I think catfish are on every continent except Antarctica.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I did catch some kind of catfish. I did a shoot in the Soviet Union, Russia. This has been 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I caught some kind of catfish, but I don't know what kind it was. So it didn't look, outside of being a catfish, I don't know exactly what
I've actually got a subscriber. His name's Dexter, and he sent in a catfish for one of the catch of the weeks. He's actually in Malaysia. He'll probably stop in about halfway through the show because it's like it's morning time right now there. But he catches a couple of red cats, and I had actually never seen one until he sent in his picture.
Yeah, there's so many different ones out there. It would be cool if I was made of money and could just travel around and do that.
What do you mean?
There's on these adventures, or it's like I told somebody one time. I said my YouTube channel would be much better if I was 21 years old, unmarried, no commitments whatsoever, and dirt poor broke, or B, I was filthy rich and didn't have to work. When you fall into that in-between category, you have to manage life and that as a sidekick. So,
Anthony Horton Fishing asked, sorry to cut you off there, dear. Have you ever used bubblegum bait?
No, but you know what? I'm thinking about doing a shoot this year. I'm not too much into the gimmick stuff as far as the videos, and that's no knock to people that do them. It's just I've toyed around with doing some of them. Which is the time I call them gimmick videos. Y'all know what I'm talking about as far as the video. Okay. But
shooting
I
it just for the views.
Considered doing that out of curiosity and I'd like to do it when the channel cat bite really kicks on, which should be any time now. And go out, anchor up, and put out 6 different baits. Some of the traditional, have some gizzard shad, and then red worms, and hot dogs, and ivory soap, and, some of this other stuff that's out there, maybe some of the pike baits, and try some of that just to see, whether it works. I mean, I know that it is what it's not going to catch trophy fish, but it may catch fish. And I think that stuff is cool for people. I take for granted sometimes, and a lot of us that get to fish a lot take for granted that, well, everybody can go out and get gizzard shad. Everybody can just go catch bluegill white perch, and that's not true. There's a lot of people that, get off work, have a chance to go fishing, and go, man, I don't have anything to fish with. And,
they have to go buy worms or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and, they're looking at the grocery store baits. Does, livers work? Does, chicken breast work? And, I understand that. And sometimes you have to think about that and keep that in perspective is that, it's great to have gizzard shad, fresh, caught, and all that. But not everybody has an opportunity to do that, especially guys that bank fish. I really feel for those guys. Those guys that bust their tail and do that. I mean, it's hard enough to find a place to have access to the bank to fish, and then having access to a place that has access to where fish are. And then on top of that, being able to catch bait. I mean, it's a tough combination. And I usually try to help out. I love when I pull up at the boat ramp and there's some people sitting there at the boat dock fishing. A lot of them are just fishing for bluegill or something like that. But every now and then it's just catfish, and I always like to give them some bait or something if they're, looking, if they're just sitting there with some chicken liver or something like that. So I feel for bank fishermen. It's tough. It's getting tougher. Tennessee River seems to be a great place. Catfish Dave out there. There's a lot of public access points out there to fish, but I know around here on the top of Chain of Lakes, it's tough. There's very few places. The boat ramps, even the bridges, it's hard to get to because parking leading up to them, you can't get to. So yeah, I feel for those people.
Trying to keep up with chat.
You're seeing them quicker than I am.
Yeah. Have you ordered your Catfish Dave Barbie doll yet?
No, but I tell you what, my little girl's Barbie's in there. She's one of those typical kids that like strips all the clothes off of them, and like the clothes go in one corner of the room, and then the Barbies do their thing. They all look the same, so I think I could steal one and go try it out and see how it works. Which brings up a great point: the rattles.
Yeah.
That's been a hot topic with the. I got a lot of views and a lot of comments and a lot of discussion with the whole thing, the rattle test.
Well, it was a very interesting test that you did. I thought it was very well done. I don't think you have any of the new demon dragons, do you?
No, and it's like I tell people, the only demon dragon that I had was two that Scott Manning sent to me. I fished with them for one trip and caught some fish and lost both of them in brush piles the same day. So all of the ones I used were the homemade ones that were made from the Zara Spook blanks that were painted with spray paint, and when you order them, they come with a little pack of eyeballs, and you peel the eyeballs off and put them on there. And those are the only ones I use. So, that was one thing I tried to make clear was that maybe the fancy painting makes a difference. Okay, if they want to send me some to try out in a separate test, I'll be glad to do it. But
I'm going to send you two.
A piece for a cork on a drift rig is a lot of money for me to spend. I would not spend it. And
I've got several that I picked up at the Catfish conference. I'm going to send you two of the new ones. I'm going to get with you after this, and you just pick out what color you want. How about that?
You pick the color. That way we can totally randomize. Okay. And, the thing was I got out of all of that was, the test was they all catch fish. Granted, the peg float did better. And by the way, I'm continuing the test, and I'll give you a heads up. The bear peg float is continuing to win. I won't tell you how the other two are doing. But they all catch fish. And there really wasn't a big difference from one to the other. So, part of the airplanes, by the way, I'm in the approach pattern for Charlotte Douglas International. They all catch fish, and that's what I was trying to tell people. If you feel confident in the Demon Dragon and you like them, and they're catching fish for you, and you have the money, buy them, use them. There's nothing wrong with them. There's no reason not to use them, except for the cost. That's the thing that kept me from, using them. Otherwise, they catch fish. They don't seem to scare fish away. That's one thing I was thinking about doing was really just pairing one side of the boat. But what I did in the test, I randomly put them out in different places. There was no thought to it. So the thinking was probability over the course of time, they'd all be out mixed up and didn't change anything around with bait or anything like that. So, yeah, it's interesting. I've got all kinds of things.
Someone said whatever you can afford.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got, and I'm pretty honest about everything I do. If I'm getting something free from a manufacturer, I'll let everybody know. I've got some line tests I'm getting ready to do. I actually already got them shot. I think they'll be in a couple of weeks. I've got one with the Andy line, the Moy, and the slime line. Redoing the way I tested it. I did one with slime line a while back with the water jet thing, and I see some error maybe, or I don't like how long it takes to fill up the water jug. That really wouldn't replicate a real life situation as far as catching fish. So redid it with a different deal with a scale. So anyway, I'll have all that stuff up, and pretty straightforward and honest with people about,
what works and what doesn't.
Free or just testing it.
Yeah. Johnny asked, why don't you use Muddy River Fishing chum bait? I'm going to start using his chum bait when I go fishing.
I've never used any. Somebody asked me about that the other day about the Muddy River stuff. I've never used it, and I don't see why it wouldn't work. I think sharks and catfish are very similar in the way they feed, and they're sin-oriented, and the way they operate in complete darkness and mud and silt and everything else. And I've been meaning, I used to, when I would anchor a drift and I had like a large weight perch, or if I was using a bass for bait laying off the side, I used to take the bass and put it on an old-fashioned stringer and hang it over the side of the boat and would troll with it hanging over the side of the boat. Just, did it make a difference? I don't know. I caught fish, but I caught fish without it. I think the chum stuff, I think if you would put some time into it and figuring out how to use it, especially where you've got moving water, where you've got some kind of current, I don't see why it wouldn't work. I've just never taken the time to do it. But I think that's definitely something that I think would work. Will it bring in big fish? I don't know. I feel very confident it will bring in eater-sized fish. I feel very confident about that. Is it something you're going to catch trophy fish on? I don't know. I was saying something in the video today that I did. It seems like I never catch trophy fish when I catch a lot of little fish. So, but who knows? It's something definitely worth trying out. And it's like a lot of things. Try it out. Everybody fishes different. And that's something that I've been reminded of since I've done this channel is that, you kind of get, or me at least, I get narrow-minded in the way, I do things. And, a lot of people fish in a lot of different ways. There's people, I look at the guys that fish the rivers and, the guys that are just fishing, lakes and small ponds and all that. A lot of different options out there, a lot of different ways of fishing, and a lot of this stuff may work for you.
Let's see. What kind of line do you use? From Big Fish. Ask that question.
I just switched over to, I switched back to Andy Monster. I went to 30-pound line. I fished 20-pound for years, and I'd used either Andy or Momoi, M-O-M-O-I. M-O-M-O-I. Yeah, that's right. It's a Japanese line that a lot of commercial guys use. I'd heard about. I went back and forth on those. I used high-vis yellow. And the only reason I went back and forth because I would go through a spurt. I always buy big spools of it, the big 2-pound spools, and I wouldn't be able to find Andy, so I would buy Momoi. And then, but I like Andy line. It's very consistent in where it breaks. If it's a 30-pound line, 20-pound line, it's going to break within a couple of pounds of there. And one thing, you'll see some of this in the test I do with it, the stretch on it, it bounces back. All monofilament line has stretch, plain and simple. That's one of the great things about it and the forgiving factor and the reason I like it. My concern is always, does it bounce back after stretching? So you got a piece of line that long and it stretches there, is it going to stay there? If it stretches there and stays there, well, that line diameter is thinner than what it was. So your 20-pound line may effectively be 15-pound line now. So the next time you load it, next time you snag it, you may end up breaking it. And, a lot of times when we're drifting or dragging or you're anchored, you get hung, you wrap it around the reel, you pull it, and then it pops loose. Well, you just loaded that line up. And if you got a line with a lot of stretch in it, you may have pulled it very thin, as I call it, pulled, a thin place in it. So next time you hook into a fish, you always hear these stories about, oh, that fish broke 60-pound line. Well,
retie
that line around your reel, it broke it because there was damage to it.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing with mono. I like mono. It's forgiving. I like braid. I fish braid a lot for sharks. I use it on all my small bait fish rods, skipjack rods, perch rods, brim rods, because of the you can feel bites with it real good, just because it really telecasts that bite through it. But yeah, I'm a monofilament guy. I've always used it. I like the abrasion resistance of it, and that's me. Again, that's one of the things. If you hadn't watched, folks, go watch my braid versus mono video. You get to see me in braided pigtails. I look like a fat white Snoop Dogg as my wife. And I've even got me some nice hip hop music playing in it. So be sure to look that one up on YouTube.
Oh, let's see.
By the way, be sure to smash the thumbs up button.
I appreciate that.
Oh, Sarah, I'm looking, and it says 61 watching. Just went to 60. And what was our goal for tonight?
I know it. We hit it 60. I meant to stop you earlier and tell you I saw 63 on there.
Oh, sweet. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we hit our goal.
Perfect.
PD asked, how's the pink reel holding up?
It's holding up really good. I'll tell you one I had an issue with today. I'll tell you about Pinky. Pinky's working good. That's the way we refer to it on the boat. It's made by Ancient Mariner. At least that's the name that's on it. Who it's made by, who really knows, like all these reels that come out of China. You can, it's been an education for me on these things with the Ming Yang and the King Cast and the Ancient Mariner and all these things. They're basically, they're made out of China. They're, knockoffs, whatever you want to call them. And that's why they're cheaper, plain and simple. That one so far is working great. It comes with a power handle. Retrieve rate seems to be a little bit slow, but it's not bad. Good line capacity, casts like a rocket. But like I say, everything casts good when it's brand new. So we'll see how it holds up with time. Now, on the lews today, something happened. And I've never seen this happen before. And I'm really going to go in and examine it and the other one. I didn't have time to. Somehow, if you look at the spool turns inside of the housing. And there is a very small space. It should be very teeny tiny between the spool and the housing. Somehow, a piece of line got into there. I think it bird nested it just a little bit. And I was doing something, and I looked the line, and I noticed there seems to be a gap. So I didn't really have time to examine it because I was on the water. So that could be a fatal flaw. But I need to look closer and make sure that's actually what happened and what I saw because we were out there fishing. So, but for both of those reels, the lews and Pinky, the Ancient Mariner, it's like I say with all of them, brand new. All of these reels are wonderful. They cast great. They retrieve great. I mean, you can sling them a country mile. They're wonderful. How are they going to hold up? Are they going to be a legacy reel? Time will tell. And that's going to be the thing. I don't think this is one of them things you can give a fair review to, even as much as I fish after a year. I mean, unless it's a teetotal piece of crap like the Abu Garcia BCXs were. I tore one of those up actually two of them up pretty quick, but yeah, we'll see. I do know this: the Ancient Mariner has, if that reel turns out to be a great reel, they've got a lot to overcome in the community relations department. That's the one thing I noticed very quickly across Facebook and everywhere else that they've got to overcome some stuff there, and I hope they do. It would really suck for it to be a great reel and it have left such a bad taste in people's mouths.
Yeah.
So, but time will tell on that. All of these things, like I said, come out of China. If you want to sell catfish reels, you can go to Alibaba and found out you can go in there and order a case of 50 of them for $20 a piece, and slap Dieter Melhorn fishing on the side of them, and I can have a fishing reel still. So, it's the reason I want to do it again. It goes back to affordability. There's a lot of people who can't afford Abu Garcia reels at $125. I'll be honest, I've never paid that much for them. I used to be able to get them used on eBay, and then apparently I told one too many people about that on catfish1.com back in the day when people went to catfish websites, and now the price has skyrocketed on eBay. It's hard to find them used. You have to really hustle the local pawn shops to find them. But yeah, even at that, people are looking for affordable alternatives, and that's kind of the reason for testing some of this stuff out. How's that for an audio book there, Chris Forrest? By the way.
No, I think it's
that's what it looks like.
Oh, gosh. I think everybody's got some great questions tonight. I'm going to stop us off for just a second. I'm going to go ahead and do our Catch of the Week segment.
Catch of the Week.
So, guys, here it is. I'm going to bring the Catch of the Week to you. If you don't know what Catch of the Week is, it's where you guys send in pictures, whether it be you, your kids, your grandkids, whatever it is. You send them in to me through yakinwithsarah@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook at yakinwithsarah. Send them in to me, and I will feature you on the Catch of the Weeks on Sunday Night Live, and then again on Wednesday. So here it is coming at you. I actually don't have any kids this week, so remember to send those in as well, because I think everybody likes seeing that future segment. Catch of the Week. Catch of the Week. Where there's no fish too small, no wrong species. I just want to see you getting out there catching fish. First up, we've got on YouTube, Bottom Dollar Outdoors. Every YouTube channel is in the description below. 24.8 pounds on Santee flathead. That is a nice fish, guys. I actually got to meet them at the Catfish Conference. Next up, we got Danny Sizemore showing every week you don't have to have a YouTube channel to send in pictures. Catching carp in the floodwaters. You can see that carp swimming right in front of him as he's throwing that cast net. That is pretty cool. Not something I've ever seen. And then we've got on YouTube Musky Hans. Sent in a slew of fish. Look at all those fish, guys. That is a ton. And then we've got a new subscriber, Lori. Dieter sent her over to me. Catching this on the Mississippi River near the New Orleans side. What a fish. Make sure you're showing everybody some love in the comment section. And we've got Catfishbill 66. Catching this on the Demon Dragons off the bank. He's on Demon Dragons Pro Staff. And then we've got Dewey Cash. He sent this in last week, but it didn't make it. I apologize about that. On YouTube, Dewey Cash catching this gar. Everyone loves catching gar, isn't that right? All those toothy critters. Outdoors Weekly sent this in. 21 inches, 3 pounds on a red eye shad. That's a bass there, guys. And that is it. Catch of the week. As simple as that. All you have to do is send me in a picture and you get featured on it. And then I feature you again every Sunday. Let's see. Bill was like 14 in that photo. I'm here. Party can start now. Hey, Frito. He always catches the tail end of the live stream. Let's see what everybody else said. White Life, I saw that you started using your magnet yesterday or today. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those videos. I've got a pretty exciting one to post tomorrow. Just got into a little bit of magnet fishing. Let's see. Awesome fish. I like the catch of the week. I think everybody kind of likes seeing it. You get to see a lot of different species. You get to see what everybody else is up to. Musky, I think one was from last week that didn't make it. Let's see. Alright. So I'm going to go to a couple of my questions while you guys start getting your questions back going towards us. And, Dieter, you've already seen these, so you should be very prepared for them.
I hate being prepared for anything.
If Dieter was a fish, what would he be?
Is that was a question?
That was a question.
Grayson asked me that all the time. I would want to be a shark. I would want to be a great white shark. Yeah, I want to be the apex predator. Yeah, that's what I would be. Now, if I was a catfish, it'd have to be a flathead. It would have to be a flathead.
What's your favorite rig to use?
It's got to be the Santee rig.
I
honestly, I played around earlier. I played around with in between the Demon Dragon test. I played around with some other rigs using the Demon Dragon, and I don't like any of them, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I like a Carolina rig for, anchoring, putting baits on the bottom. But the great thing about a Santee rig is you can suspend baits off the bottom, and you can slide that cork all the way up to the snap swivel and lay the bait on the bottom. So it's a very versatile rig. I think it's the best way to drift and drag. I tried some of the other ones that other people use, and it seems like stuff rats up too much for me. Some of the double hook rigs, I guess they call them Kentucky rigs, that kind of thing. I'd have to work a lot at it to make it work for me. All right, I'll shut up. Next question.
Craziest bait you have ever tried?
Craziest bait I've ever tried?
Yes.
Wow. Not anything really, really crazy. Shark fishing, I mean, we use other sharks. That's not horribly crazy, though. I have used catfish as bait, and that actually is not a bad bait. Taking a channel cat or small blue, it's not a bad bait. It stays on. But nothing really exotic or weird or anything. I'm kind of a straightforward, I gotta catch fish. But like I said earlier, I have the opportunity to catch good fresh bait. So
Yeah.
that's probably fine.
The White Life had a good question. What's the best live bait for catfish, and does it vary between species?
Yeah, it varies season to season too, I think. I think brim and bluegill is hard to beat. I think that's a great bait. And part of that may have to do with the way I fish. Usually when I'm fishing up near the banks, trying to pick off flatheads that are running docks, running banks, running brush. And that's usually in the summertime, and that's usually when brim and bluegill are in there. It's hard to beat white perch too. There's certain times of the year, especially wintertime, if you're dragging live baits, they're good to use. I generally only, like I say always, I try to use live bait when I'm dragging and drifting, but the majority of the fish I catch on live bait come when I'm anchored up somewhere. So,
okay. Let's see. PGH, yes, your decals will be there on Monday. And before I ask you another question, Outdoors Weekly had made sure I remembered something. Anthony Horton Fishing is putting on a bass tournament. I know this is a lot different than what we're talking about right now, but if anyone is interested in entering into that tournament, it's on FatSack, the app. We're going strictly by weight. It's a $10 entry fee, and it's going to last an entire year. So, yeah, we're basically you have a picture of the number, your number, the picture of the fish on the scale. Winner gets a kayak at the end of the year.
Oh, that sounds like a cool tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, especially for those folks that live up north where it gets a little too cold to do a whole lot of bass fishing. So if you're interested in that, get with me or get with Anthony Horton Fishing so we can get you into that. Let's get back to catfishing or saltwater fishing, whatever you guys want to talk about. Just wanted to pop on and say to everyone, have an awesome week. Freshwater Massacre, have a good one. What's your personal best?
61 pounds. That's the blue that I got out of Monticello. It's been a while back. We've had had several right at 60 pounds. Grayson caught one a couple years ago out of Wateree. Plucked a couple out of Wiley. Right around that 60 mark. Flathead, a little over 50. I was at the 48, 49 pound for I don't know how many fish, and then finally caught a 50, and I think I caught another one that was 51 a month later. So, but yeah, that's it. Channel cat's only 13 pounds. I've never been anywhere where they have really big channel cats. So that was out of Wiley probably 10 years ago when you could still catch a channel cat that size. They're not in there anymore that big. They don't grow that big anymore. Too many blues.
PD said, I'm up for that. A lot of bass, man. Santee Cooper has some big bass. Oh, where are you at? Are you near Santee, PD? I'm in South Carolina. That's why I asked. Lori asked, do you have any bank fishing tips?
Yeah, I would get the Navionics software. If you don't have that on your phone, I'll show you what it looks like. It's basically like the mapping software that I've got on the boat, and you can get it for, I don't even know how much it is for a phone, but it's just like we got on the boat. You can zoom in and it'll show you the contours and stuff for the lake. You can zoom in right where you're at, and you can get a good read on exactly what's happening from the bank. You may look out there and everybody thinks that, at least I did when I was bank fishing, that, the further I cast it, I'm going to hit the deep water. Sometimes there is no deep water. Sometimes where you're fishing, it may be, it may be just a shallow flat, and you got to kind of pick and choose when you're going to fish that area. With the mapping software, if you got a place, a park or whatever, you may be able to find something that's right near you can walk to, that you can hit deep water with or hit shallow water with. So that, if I was bank fishing, I wish they would have had this when I didn't have a boat.
That's an app?
Yeah, it's Navionics app.
Navionics app.
Yeah, I think it may cost something. It's a one-time fee if it does. I've actually run it on my boat, had it out there on an iPad because it will actually track you live. And I think you buy it it seems like you do have to pay something. But yeah, it's like, this is Lake Wateree right there on that one. And then You know, you can scroll on down to Santee and see it. That's what I would have if I was bank fishing. That's the first and foremost.
Looks like it costs $10.
Learn to read the bank, and I've been meaning to do a video on that. And you know, it's kind of hard to explain, but kind of whatever the structure is that you're on. And some of this may be common sense for people, but a lot of people don't really think about this. If you go walking through a swamp to get to the edge of the water that you're fishing at, well, you're probably not going to have any real deep drop-offs out there. It's going to kind of continue at the same grade that you're at. If you're walking down a steep hill with a bunch of bluffs and rocks to get to the water's edge, it's probably going to drop off into some deep water. And a lot of that you will learn and figure out, especially with one of these apps. It'll show you stuff. That's a big thing for, I think, people bank fishing. There's a place near the South Point boat ramp that I see people fishing at all the time, and they're always on this point. And I just want to tell them, go around the corner 100 yards, and you're right on a channel edge. You got a good drop. You could cast across the channel at that point. So learning to read the bank and what it's doing, I think, is important. I think good bank fishermen know all this kind of stuff, but if you're new to it, I think that's something that'd be another thing. Navionics first. I think that's a game changer. That's a game changer for anybody.
Yeah, everybody in the chat is agreeing with you. They're saying it's the best $10 they've ever spent.
Yeah, I sit in my camper or wherever I'm going fishing, and I can sit there at night, and I've got it on it. Once you get it, it's on your iPad too, and you can sit there and just scout places. So it's great piece of technology.
Let's see. Tex Tiger says he's checking in from Aiken. Someone asked where I am out of. I am in the upstate South Carolina, so I am in the Greenville area. One Cast One Fish said, do you clip the fins on brim or perch when using them for bait?
Depends how big they are and where I'm hooking them. Man, that was going to land in my head. It depends how big they are and where I'm hooking them. A lot of times I hook them between the dorsal fin and the eyes, right there in that top of the back. And now, if I'm putting them on the bottom and hooking them back toward the back of the tail, I usually cut the tail off because they will try to swim. This is horrible, but all the PETA people will hate this. They try to swim and they don't have any little fins on there, and that tail beats back and forth, and it creates a lot of vibration, and it's kind of like a death sentence for them. So, yeah, you flip them off there in the back. How to Kill Fish from Dieter Melhorn Fishing.
Gosh. You're in Nichols. Okay, very cool. Let's see. Go back to my questions.
I'm glad I didn't read your questions. This is good. I like all.
I'm glad you ignore my messages I send you. Who's your favorite guest on your boat?
Favorite guest?
Yep.
I like having my son on there. Yeah, I just say that because he's standing up here watching on the side. But yeah, I like having it on there. I really liked it. I really like when my wife comes out. She doesn't come out fishing as much as she used to. I said one of the best trips we had last year was when all of us were on the boat during the eclipse. That was the highlight of last year. I think we actually fished a little bit, but it was really cool having everybody get out there on the boat and be in the middle of Santee, right in the epicenter of the eclipse. That was really cool.
Might have missed it, but what's his specialty? His specialty would be catfishing, and you do some saltwater fishing as well.
Yeah,
he's in Mountain Dew commercials. He's
my second and a half of fame right there. Ponytail. Yes, catfish. Striper's probably a second as far as freshwater, and then I junk fish down at the coast. I love to catch sharks, and that's something that goes back to my childhood. That's just, growing up during the Jaws era. And, I like them because they're affordable to fish for. It's not a rich man's saltwater fish like a lot of them. It's not like bass fishing. No offense to any bass fishermen, but I don't have the patience that you guys have, nor the skill to cast repeatedly at something and not catch it. In my world of redneck fishing, the perfect scenario is one catfish per cast. Okay, bass fishermen, I watch, and I love watching bass fishing on TV. It's like watching golf. I don't play golf, but I don't mind watching golf. It's actually entertaining and fun to watch. I don't bass fish, but I actually watch it. But anyway, my point is they cast hundreds of times. And, they come back. I don't even have a string or a fish to weigh in. It's like, you cast 1,200 times. And, so anyway, I don't have that patience in saltwater either for redfish. When I catch redfish or drum, it's red bait fishing. I put, live shrimp under a float it, that kind of stuff. So one maybe I'll get that good as an angler, but I doubt it.
Anna, to answer your question, she actually caught a catfish on a rooster tail once, and she said, "What's the likelihood of that happening again?" Someone else in the chat, I think it was when you popped out for a second, Dieter, they said that they've been catching a lot of catfish on spinner baits.
Yeah, I remember I actually caught a catfish as a kid on a rooster tail. I think a rooster tail was the first artificial lure that was laying in, one of my dad's tackle boxes that I cast and actually caught them on. Catching them on artificials, you'll hear a lot of bass guys catching flatheads like in Lake Wiley and other lakes, reservoirs that have them, especially in the springtime once they start waking up. About this time of the year, once that water starts knocking on 60 degrees, these guys that are beating the docks with crankbaits and spinner baits end up catching a lot of flatheads. And, they'll hit them. I mean, if you're busting the bottom with something, they'll hit them. They're opportunistic feeders, and you get close enough to them. They're not as reactionary striking as a bass is, but yeah, they'll hit them. It's not out of the ordinary. It will be interesting. That's one thing I've always wondered. Will it ever get to the point to where catching catfish becomes it gets like bass fishing, where we figure out a way to make it reactionary strikes. Some of the best bass fishing in the world is going to Florida and catching them on live bait, live shiners, natural shiners down there. That's the easy way to catch it, as they call it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows if somebody will ever get something together where you can catch catfish.
They'll make a lot of money.
That would be a game changer, and not just for the fishermen, but actually for the industry itself. Because, as you well know, and any of your bass anglers that are in here know, that's what drives the bass industry, is just the tackle sales, and that's something that's kind of I ain't gonna say holding back the catfish world, but it's always going to keep it in a different category from any world that has the need for a whole lot of tackle and lures and, that kind of thing.
Let's see. Catfish Stalker Outdoors, Greg said if you have any questions about the Naviotics, you can contact him as well. So,
sweet. Tell him to message me because, there was somebody reached out to us at some point from Navionics about doing some mapping on some lakes, and at the time there weren't a lot of the anglers that had. I think basically they were record. They have a way where they record stuff, the mapping, to update maps and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, have him reach out to me. That'd be great. He can hit me on any of my social media stuff, or DieterMelhornFishing.com. You can email me and message me there.
You can find all of your information right there.
Yep, that's the hub. Goes in all different directions.
White Life said, since I started taking Ryder, that's his son, fishing, I use a lot more live baits. So I think that's the best way to get kids started, is get them started on the live baits, in my opinion.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
Best baits for cats, livers, or jello-coated hot dogs, etc.
I like the jalapeno jelly-coated hot dogs, personally. It really makes them, as soon as they get the jalapeno in there, it makes them bite down on it. And so, I say that halfway jokingly. I know a lot of the guys who carp fish the carp lakes. That's one of the things they do with their pack bait. Some of them will put hot sauce in it so that, their thing is, the theory is that the carp that have been caught multiple times with hook wounds in their mouth, when they bite down on the dough or the sugar snap that's on there and it has hot sauce, it makes them bite it and run off with it. Yeah. It's funny, you talk about the livers, and I always go back to that because I remember I finally quit about 6 or 7 years ago. I finally just quit it completely. Okay. But every now and then, I would buy some livers and try to fish with them one more time just to see if I could make it work. And every time I would do it, I would get done and I would go, I remember why you hate these things. And I'll never fish again. And I finally have not went back. So there you go.
Sardines and hot sauce for blues.
Those sound good. I think like sardines and hot sauce on a cracker to eat fishing for blues would be more appropriate. So, and I will eat sardines. I some of them. There's some of them I like, some I don't like. Mustard sauce, I think, are the cool ones. Can't get Grayson to eat them. He will not do that. So, great. By the way, these are fun.
Yeah. New School said drifting sticks is like an artificial lure, except the hook is just the trailer.
Well, there you go. There you go. That's an idea. Yeah, and that's funny you mentioned drifting sticks, because I was fiddling around with those things today. For y'all that don't know, drifting sticks is basically a sinker. It's about that long. It rattles. They've got one out now that's got a little scent thing in it, a little scent disseminator. It's cool where all that stuff has progressed to with the whole sinker thing. There's a bunch of, I think Zach Royce has got some out that does something or something. I don't know. But it's, and I wonder, and that's one thing I'd like to test with this drifting sticks. It seemed like, and this is just, anecdotal evidence looking at that fishing test. I had drifting sticks on some and not on some others, and it seemed like there were some that performed better. So I don't know. I don't know if those things, make a difference or not. I wish their little scent thing, I like the idea because it's almost like a dragging chum stick. I think the scent thing needs to be up at the top, and that's the thing. I'm going to work with them and see if they can change around where that little scent thing is on this drifting stick.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Outdoors Weekly said, have you ever fished with toads?
No, but I hear that's like the thing to do for channel catfish, like where's the Red River and some of that stuff up north. Little frogs are so cute. I don't know if I could like kill a little frog. That would be terrible. They just, I don't know. I don't know if I could kill a little frog. I like toads. When I see them out here, like get them out of the yard, try not to run over them and chop them up with the lawnmower and stuff. I don't know if I could kill a little toad. There's just not an abundance of them, I guess. I only like to kill stuff for bait that there's an abundance of. So, anyway. Am I weak? Am I weak? Am I getting soft? Am I getting soft here?
I don't know. I think you manned up when you talked about your bluegill clipping the fins. So
yeah, well, they were a lot of bluegills. You killed them. So. We eat frog legs though, but I think all those are farm raised fish. So anyway.
Antique Catfishing said, "Oh, I just missed it. Let me get it. What's your most embarrassing moment while fishing?"
God, let me try to narrow it down to 4 or 5. I'm trying to think. Embarrassing. That's a good question. Wow. I'm trying to think. Well, there was a time. It wasn't embarrassing. It was funny. I was peeing off the side of the boat, and I thought I was peeing off a good side of the boat. And, I'm sitting there doing my business, and I hear, "So how's the fishing going?" And I'm trying to remember, sure, there's a bass guy was coming down the bank. He's got a trolling motor down. I can't hear him. I go, I carry on a conversation like there's nothing to it. And, he apparently did not know or something. So, but even that didn't embarrass me.
I was gonna say, do you get embarrassed? I mean, has there been that point where you actually get embarrassed?
I'm sure there's. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Yeah, I can't think of anything. But I got a question for you, being a girl.
Okay.
Okay. At some point, I always say I want to start guiding. I want to be a guide.
Yeah.
Retirement or whatever. How does a guy deal with a woman and all that kind of stuff? I've had a woman on my boat one time that had to go to the bathroom. Besides my wife, she doesn't count. And it was a buddy, it was his wife, and they were out fishing. And I said, "Well, we got 2 choices." I said, we can run back to the state park. I got a bathroom there. I said, or I've got a bucket and a drift sock, and you can Swear to God, she said, "Where's the bucket? I don't need the drift socks. Just turn you back." And I was like, "Cool." What's the proper thing there in etiquette world? How's all that work?
I'm not sure if there is a proper. I think everyone's just going to be different.
Yeah.
So I mean,
because I saw a pro bass fisherman one time, and they had some kind of little skirt thing that they basically put around them. It was like a giant little dress. That's where I got the idea for the drift sock.
Yeah.
And they had this skirt thing, and basically, had a bucket and did that one. So anyway, that's off in a different direction. Everybody all of a sudden forgot their questions or are acutely tuned in to go, "What's the answer?"
No, I mean, I don't really think that there can be an answer. Yeah, Anna said etiquette, LOL.
Yeah, don't drink. That'll be my warning if I ever guide, is just tell everybody don't drink a lot of coffee before you come fishing. So.
That's right. I guess the proper etiquette would just be the warning before you get on the boat. And I think they can decide for themselves after that.
Yeah, and what this is what the options are, and because like on that one, it was a pretty good run back down the lake too, where the state park was. Another option, I guess, you could beach the boat and they could run up in the woods or something. But yeah, so anyway, off on a tangent. Back to the questions.
I'm reading everybody's comments. Let's see. Where did you learn catfishing from? Who taught you?
Well, I was writing something today for an article. It's going to be a magazine, and it started fishing with my family, my dad and my mom. And we grew up in a mill town. They worked in the mills, and the mills here, one of the mills, whichever one it was, had a piece of land on the lake, and had a pier, had a big bank, and there were picnic tables and little gazebos and a parking area, a place to cook out, grills on. It was for the workers, and we would go down there on the weekends at night, sit on the bank and fish. That's where I learned to fish at, and you were pretty much fishing for catfish. That was the most abundant fish, and that's where it started at. And from there, as I got older, my parents had a friend that had a place down on Lake Wiley. I still ride by it every time I'm down there fishing in the South Fork. And my mom would literally drop me off dinner in the morning in the summertime and would come back and get me 12, 1 o'clock. I would sit on that pier and fish all day long. And as I got older, continued to bank fish. And it was probably, I would go on with some people fishing on boats and stuff like that, but I didn't have a boat. And I don't know how long it's been now, 15 years ago. 17 years or something like that. I was fishing on the bank on a piece of land on the South Fork River, and typical thing, I'm casting out, I'm catching my catfish. And like I did forever, boat would go by, and I go, "Man, there's a nice boat." I said, "One day I'm going to get me a boat." And I sat there for a second. I said, "You know what? I'm a grown man." I said, "I can afford to buy a boat at this point." So honestly, did like most people that fish, they get their boat, they go to their wife and they say, "Let's get a boat," and you buy a pontoon boat. Wife wants to go out on the pontoon boat and hang out. She goes out 4 or 5 times on the pontoon boat, and then it becomes a fishing boat, and it's too hot, and there's bugs and smells, and they don't ever go out again. And then
Exactly.
You're stuck with a pontoon boat. It's not a good fishing boat. So that was kind of my progression, just like everybody else that kind of progresses into it. And it got more and more serious as time went on, and it's become an addiction. It's and I don't say that jokingly. It's a controlled addiction. Luckily, if I fish too much, I kind of there are point after a few days I go, I need a break. But it's a passion, and it's borderline addiction. I have to be conscious of everything else. That I still have a family, still have a job, still got to cut the grass. Came home today after fishing for 3 days and finally cleaned out the gutters and did all that before all this started. So yeah, that's kind of the
going off of that. A lot of people ask me why I'm fishing out of a kayak and stuff like that. And my biggest thing is, my husband doesn't fish.
Mm-hmm.
My kids, she can fit in the kayak with me if I decide to take her out with me. But right now, she's too little to really get into it. She's only 2. So why not have that kayak, something I can get out there on my own. I can go out there, do my own thing, and I don't have to worry about something that's gonna break the bank, basically.
Yeah. It's amazing where kayak fishing has come to. It's a great place in time to be a kayak angler because it's not a bunch of whitewater kayaks that somebody's fishing out of now. These are fishing kayaks, and they've really, the technology that goes into them is pretty amazing. And if you're a kayak fisherman, you're at a good place in time to be doing it.
Yazoo Yellowcat says the skipjack bite was slow yesterday.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing? I enjoyed meeting them out at the Catfish Conference. Hope y'all are doing good. That's one of the cool things, to get to meet people like that. And got to meet you out there, Sarah. And I see everybody. So yeah, that's cool.
That was probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever had as a YouTuber, basically. Yeah. I'm still small, so I don't get to go out and meet fans or anything like that. But getting to hang out with all of the catfishing community was probably the coolest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, it was for me too. I was overwhelmed by it. And Steve Douglas told me beforehand. I talked to him on the phone, and he told me, he said, I said, I'm gonna walk around like this. He said, you ain't gonna have a whole lot of time to be, blah blah blah. I said, Steve, ain't that many people know who I am, I said, he said, you'll be. I was really overwhelmed how many people, watch, and know how many people I have. A lot of them I know from talking to them and stuff online. There were a lot of people came to me and said, you don't have a clue who I am, subscribe to your channel. It was cool. It was really cool. And by next year, you're going to be so big time. I hope you have time to actually talk to me.
Oh, yeah. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Deer was really lucky and got to meet me and K-Bud Clark.
It was cool, and it's what's cool is a lot of these people you keep I'm able to keep exchanging messages with. That's another cool thing in the world we live in. Technology has a lot of bad stuff. There's a lot of bad stuff attached to Facebook and all that, but there's a lot of good too. And developing these relationships with people, that you can, it's tough enough. It's hard to get somebody on the phone and say, hey, how you doing, chit chat, but in our world, it's great. You can multitask and be messaging with somebody while they're doing something, while you're doing something, still have a conversation. So we're at a good place in time and in history to be doing all this stuff.
Yeah. Fishing with Big D, he asks this every week for I think it's his son. It might be a daughter. I'm pretty sure it's his son. What is your favorite cartoon?
Dora the Explorer.
Dora the Explorer.
Yeah. Dora the Explorer. Trying to think what else Taterbug's listened to lately. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Dora the Explorer comes to mind really quickly though, so I'll go with that one.
All right. Let's see. Frank said we should have a YouTube booth next year.
Yeah, that's it was cool, the thing that Steve Douglas put together with getting all the YouTubers together to do some stuff over on the side. That was really cool. It's amazing how many of them are out there that are doing stuff that is catfish specific.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting what happens with the conference next year. Have they set anybody? I throw that out to everybody. Have they determined where it's going to be, what it's going to be, any of that yet?
I asked a couple people, and I haven't gotten an answer. I've heard rumor of Tennessee, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
It would be nice if they could split it up into two of them geographically. I think that would help with people. I know that's tough for the vendors because, some people are kind of stretching the envelope to get there to begin with.
Yeah.
But it would be cool if they could have something kind of an east-west kind of thing just to open it up because, I look at Chris Flores, he travels all the way from New Mexico to come to that thing. And I think there were some vendors from Texas and Oklahoma out in those areas. I mean, it's a lot of ground to cover. For me, it was 7 hours up there, 6 hours, whatever it was up there, 5 hours. It was a good drive. Yeah, it would be nice if there was something Chattanooga, Knoxville, something like that. But
Chris said there's nothing official yet. And Bob Clark said, enjoyed the show, Sarah. Tell my hero good night for Doolittle out.
Good old Bob. Bob's one that one of our local guys here that's been around this area and this catfishing community for a long time.
All right. I'm going to ask my last question for you, and then I'm going to do my little giveaway I do at the end of each show. Why do you fish?
Why do I fish? That is a question that can't be answered. That's one of those things that somebody tries to find an answer to and write down, and you can wax on it philosophically, you know, all these reasons of enlightenment, and there's no answer. There's no answer. I've tried to figure it out. I've thought about it. I've tried to, you know, I think for everybody, there's your own little personal reason that draws you to it. And I think that's different for everybody. I'm sure everybody shares some of the same reasons, but I don't think there's a good answer. I don't think we want an answer as to why. I think we just like that mystical, magical draw to it. I think some of it may be primal. I think some people are just it's bred into them. My dad passed away when I was almost 10, and I was raised by a stepfather, a great man. Didn't hunt, didn't fish, didn't do anything. Okay. And there was something that was in me that, you know, maybe it was tied to my dad and that, you know, that whole world, his legacy. So again, I think some of it, there's no real answer on why we do it. And I think that's what's cool about it. I think that's the magic and the draw of it.
All right. Good deal. Any last questions that you guys have for Dieter? Go ahead and ask them now. Every week I try and do a giveaway. I give away stickers. So let's see if I have any handy. I've got a Clemson sticker right here I could show. So something along this, basically card, decals. You can put it on your tackle boxes, wherever you want to put it. I've got all kinds of different ones that I've got.
Grayson, if you're watching in the house, she has a Clemson sticker. Would you like that? You could put it right over your Alabama A. Good. He'll have to watch this on
Grayson. I liked Grayson for a while there.
I tell him all the time, son, Clemson makes me a lot more money than Alabama does. So.
I need something for my car. Yeah, I can make, all kinds of different stickers. I've got that side business going on. But the questions come from my previous videos. So this week I had 2 videos out, but I'm gonna ask 2 questions. One's gonna be a little bit trickier than the other one. So I had a firefighting video out. What was the name of the dummy that we rescued in our search and rescue mission? That's a tough one. So that's gonna be the tough one. And the other one will be, what was my big find in my magnet fishing trip? How about that? You guys answer those. What was the? Oh, someone got it. That was quick. Wow. And okay, awesome. Fill and drag catfishing. That's right. Lieutenant Dan was our dummy for our search and rescue mission. He has no legs, so that's the reason for his name. And Kentucky Catman got the nail clippers. I've got another magnet fishing trip that I took my niece on coming tomorrow. She found something pretty big. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about it. It's pretty impressive. I'm a little bit jealous of it. So, Kentucky Catman and Pill and Drag. Someone said Dieter. Let's see. Any last questions for Dieter before we sign out?
If you think of anything later, you can always message me. I'm usually pretty good about answering them, or just throw it down in below one of the videos. Like I said, Grayson will have. But we're having up Grayson's turkey hunting video tomorrow, his double, and you'll get to hear what I sound like when I'm shaking and trying to use a mouth call to call a turkey. Really, it sounds like a a crow that's had one of his wings clipped or something. So it's funny, but it's a great video. So put a message in there if you think of anything.
All right. If for some reason you guys are not subscribed to Dieter Melhorn, here's his channel right there in the chat. When are you coming to Kansas?
Man, I saw somebody else.
Or Mississippi.
I think the other boys were asking about, Mississippi. I need to map. So what I'm thinking about trying to pull some trips off after the spawn, because nothing's going to happen between now and the spawn, and I know better than to go fishing anywhere in June. So I'm thinking about maybe trying to do something later in the summer. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, Chris said he wants to get the hair competition going for May.
Yeah, I mean, you're great, Chris. You already, wait till the fish aren't biting around here. Hey, come on.
Is this really going to be a thing? That's what I want to know if this is really going to be a thing. I mean, is this really going to happen?
You want anything else stacked in your favor on this whole deal? I mean,
I think everyone kind of wants to know if this is actually going to ever happen.
Hey, listen. You go back and look at the video. How long has it been since I mentioned it? And it's like, dun, dun,
yeah,
dun.
I hear you. All right, folks. Make sure you're checking his channel out. If you have any more questions for him, I'm sure he'd feel free to answer all of them. He's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. He's got his own website, Dieter Melhorn Fishing, I believe. Is that correct?
DieterMelhornFishing.com. That's me.
All right. I'm signing out. I will catch all of you later. Pill and Drag and Kentucky Catman, make sure you send me emails this week so I can get your stickers sent to you and you guys can choose from them. Next week, we will attempt to have a Sunday Night Live. I have to work that night, so it might be a little early. It might be a midday Sunday Live, and it's just going to be me. I'm going to be answering questions, going over a few new products I've got. Then the week after that, I've got someone planned that's going to be pretty awesome. So I'll announce that next week. All of you guys have a good night. I will catch you later. There you go.